Now, I'm sure you've seen a Lego brick film before, whether that being some 5-year-old on his bedroom floor or the very small indie movie. I don't think any of you have seen it. It's called The Lego Movie. And with a Lego segment in the new Spider-Verse movie, I thought it would be cool to go over the evolution of Lego brick films. And before this video begins, I'm going to be using like Fortnite and like Empire at War gameplay as a sort of segue because I don't want to risk getting a copyright strike, if that makes sense. Okay, now let's dive into this. Lego brick films have evolved quite a bit, and just in case you're a boomer who grew up with Pong and going outside, let's go over what a brick film is. And to put it lightly, a brick film is a film that's in quotation marks. Most of them are like 3 minutes long. But they are films that are made with Lego and are animated with either stop motion or, in the case that you have a budget of more than like £5 and a pack of gum, using Blender and other 3D animated software, which is what the Lego movies and the Spider-Verse segment in Across the Spider-Verse use. And also, before we fully dive in, I just want to explain why these brick films mean so much to me and so many others. Basically, I had unrestricted internet access at the age of like 6 years old, but no, I did not stumble onto a video consisting of gore. That's because these brick films and Clone Army videos kept me so entertained that I didn't watch anything else for about 10 years. So now that's all done, I just want to take you to a time long before TikTok, long before Mr. Beast, and that's 1985. An Australian animator known as Lindsay Flay, I think that's how you pronounce it, records the Lego brick film known as the Magic Portal. And you know, in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I know I've talked about it a lot, but it's a brilliant film, where Miguel explains the Spider-Verse to Miles, and there's like the tree-looking thing. Well, let's use this as the tree of Lego brick films, and at the bottom there, that's where the magic portal is. Editor's note: this isn't the first Lego brick film, but it was one of the first that had very long and a cohesive story, and it kind of popularized the Lego stop motion industry. And the animator Lindsay Flay, while researching this video, I found out he was working on films like The Matrix and Lord of the Rings. That's quite cool to know. But I know by today's standards this isn't like brilliant. But keep in mind, for the 80s, this is really good. And it was an art piece, I think, for his college work or like a event. So that's, I think he won the event as well, which is really cool. Okay, now fast forward to 2007, because most brick films were like 2 minute long, basically trailers or like parodies of films. And a YouTube channel called Pizza Movies records the Lego 50 First Legion. And these are what kickstarted the Lego Star Wars stop motion trend. And these are some of the first stop motions to have multiple episodes. I know the plot can be summarized as separatist attack base, clones get outnumbered, they get saved, but it's still better than the sequel movies. I mean, that is a low hanging fruit. Halo 5 had a better plot than those movies. But what I'm trying to say is that these films caused a golden age, and this was also helped by the Lego 2008 Star Wars The Clone Wars movie wave. Now, that sentence got a few of you frothing at the mouth. This wave and the 2009 wave that followed made clone and droid armies heavily accessible. Also helped by the 2007 droid and clone battle packs, this was a golden age, man. Words cannot describe the pure bliss that LEGO YouTube was back then. There were no man babies explaining why LEGO should burn and go bankrupt because of their little plastic clone minifigures have 1 millimeter of printing off. We had greats like Chris Productions base videos on Dantooine and Clone Training Center. It was truly a different time and a better time. And obviously, humans evolve and change. The quality of these brick films improved. For example, the Battle of Naboo series. The improvement in quality from part 1 to part 2 was crazy. As you can see on screen now, there are some clips from the two, and you can definitely tell which one was made later, just just by the camera quality alone. And then in that series, because it was a 3-part series, we got part 3.1. and it was great. Everything was going all right. And then, because obviously it was a long episode, you know, the creator decided to cut it up. Nothing wrong with that. And there will be a part 3.2 releasing about, I think, a year after part 3.1 came out. But because the world isn't a utopia, the footage corrupted, and so that was the end of it. And when I tell you this broke my little 8-year-old heart back in like 2014 or something, it's an understatement. But now I'm sure you're wondering why this LEGO Golden Age lasted so long, considering most waves retire 1 to 2 years after release. And that's because there was not only the Clone Wars movie, there was the TV show. And any LEGO Star Wars fan over the age of 3 will tell you that the sets released with the to coincide with the TV show are some of LEGO's best sets, with army building in mind, obviously. You have stuff like the 2009 Clone War Battle Pack, the GOAT, or the 2012 Clone Turbo Tank, and because I don't want to make a list longer than time itself, 99% of the sets released from about 2008 to about 2014 that are in the prequel era could be army built in some way. Let's take an example with the wholly coveted Bark Speeder Chase with Captain Rex Phase 2. Apart from the two figures, the builds and the commander droids you're able to have multiple of these and it not look weird, if that makes sense. And we can't mention LEGO Star Wars Golden Ages without the 2013 First Battle of Geonosis Episode 2 Attack of the Clones wave. That was a long statement. But this wave had some of the best LEGO sets ever made in it. You've got the 2013 clone gunship, you know? Sadly, it did have bubble turrets, so you couldn't really use it like you could use the 2008 one. However, this helpful video by Coconut Brick Studios shows how to modify it to have the double doors. And not to mention all the other goated sets of the wave which will be on screen now. It helped play into the fantasy of army building and made LEGO £700 million richer, and adjusted for inflation, that's about 900 million in today's money. And obviously LEGO make about $1 billion in profits anyway. However, this was before the 18 plus sets came out. We only really had the UCS X-Wing, I think, of this year, and previously we got was it the B-Wing? I think these sets basically had no minifigures or whatever, and were the only adult orientated sets, if that makes sense. So obviously, for army building sets pretty much alone, that was really good. And because the Clone Wars show was just so amazing, like I'll play some of the best moments on screen now for you. This obviously led to all these stop motions, which weren't just a kid playing with a minifigure with a basic story. These were well made and well thought out. For example, Watermelon Brick Studios' Battle for Augmentel series. The environment design was incredibly good for 2014, on top of the story, which was also really great. And no, I'm not being biased because when I was an empty shell back in like February, I rewatched all of these and was generally on the edge of my seat. I'm not going to spoil them because I think you should all watch them, but that was not all that happened in 2014. We also got the freaking Lego movie, and on a budget of about 60 million USD, grossed over 460 million, I think, globally, and changed animation and the mainstream opinions on Lego Brickfilms entirely, which obviously led to two spin-off movies, the Lego Batman movie and the Lego Ninjago movie, one of which being good, and a sequel, which IMO, it's pretty decent. It's not better than the first one, but it's alright. Doesn't deserve the hate. But that's neither here nor there. Unfortunately, 2014 was not all sunshine and rainbows because Kathleen Kennedy, aka my arch nemesis, cancelled the Clone Wars TV show because it was costing too much. I mean, let's look at Book of Boba Fett to see how that turns out. And the main reason we got this golden age, it was caused by the Clone Wars TV show, the sets. Despite this, we did get one last hurrah, so to speak, with some incredible sets. The 2014 the Battle Packs, Kashyyyk Wave, and the Clone Wars Season 5 sets were all really good. But after this, we mainly got original trilogy and sequel trilogy sets. Like the last big Clone Wars era set was in 2015 with the Clone Turbo Tank. And keep in mind, like we only recently got another big Clone Wars set, being the ATT in 2022, and that's a 7 year gap in big Clone Wars sets. And yes, I know these both are Revenge of the Sith, but they're still in the Clone Wars. And as the Star Wars sets and content over the next 5 to 6 years was pretty terrible, with overinflated sets dominating the market, I'm looking at you, Ty Dorito. This led to a decline in Brickfilms, which sucks. The Rogue One and the Solo Waves were decently priced and amazing. However, the decline of Brickfilms sadly might be caused by other reasons. At this point in time, 2008 was over 7 years ago, and if you were 10 when the original Clone Wars wave released, you would be about 17 at this point in time. And what happens to the vast majority of teenagers is they view back on stuff like playing with Lego as childish and slowly move away from it. And I'm not saying there weren't brick films made at this time. However, a lot of these were just one and done projects, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there wasn't the quantity that there was a few years prior, because there will always be new generations of kids to make brick films, and people will always buy Lego. But if the media at the time is self contained, it isn't going to inspire anyone. Now, I'm sure you're confused about what I mean, and let me explain. And for this, I think it's time to take you to 2016. The apocalypse is about to happen, and the goated best Star Wars film ever made, Rogue One, released. But there's a problem. All the main characters die, which heavily limits kids' ability to play with the toys, as all they can really do is just reenact the events of the film. So no one bought the figures of the main characters. For example, in this world-class bullshitters video, he shows how someone bought 50 Cassian Andor figures, Black Series as well, for about 1p each. Like, no one wanted these figures. They warmed shelf for ages, which links into Lego Brick Films as well. There's a reason the Golden Age happened during the Clone Wars TV show, and that just wasn't because of the sets as well. It was because of the fact that Clone Wars has multiple time jumps, multiple planets, and thousands of clone legions and characters on top of the amazing stories it creates. And realistically, you could have a self-contained story set during this time point, and as long as it doesn't mess with the canon events of the films and the TV shows, realistically, it could be well canon. So yeah, during this era from 2015 to 2020, there wasn't really much made. There wasn't a continuation of an existing story, such as Battle for Augmentel. So now I'm sure you understand why brick films went down in quantity in this period, due to the media and the sets really being bad. But so that's all that really happens for about 5 to 6 years. So let's just fast forward to the year of 2020, everyone's favourite year, and a small Clone Wars Season 7 wave consisting of two sets is the mascot of the new wave on Brick Films. And obviously, as well, we're all locked up, and because people made some irresponsible business decisions and made some really good brick films, for example, the Battle of Yellow Brick City and The Rescue, the latter of which was an art project, and may I add, these are fantastic. They have no dialogue, however, fluently convey all the emotion and storytelling through grunts, and on top of the early 2000 Lego Star Wars sets being used, brings back a feeling I haven't felt since I was a kid. It feels old, it feels like you've seen it before, but at the same time, it's very new. It's very well made. But how can we talk about new Lego brick films without From the Ashes, which has been in development since around 2015. Clocks in at about an hour and a half, which can be a full movie, and oh my, all the effects, fight scenes, and movements is amazing. And the fact that these were made using real Lego parts and figures is fantastic. If anyone hasn't watched it, I definitely recommend watching it. And there's one more modern Lego brick film I want to talk about, Sharp Eye Remastered. And it says remastered, but I couldn't find the original videos. But it's a mini series that has been put into a full video and is really good as well. So what I'm trying to say is over the last few years, Lego brick films have had a renaissance, and those kids that grew up and grew out of Lego 5 years prior have returned and made some really, really good content. But not to say it was all grown ups coming back and making films. We also have the new generation of Lego brick films. For example, people like Son of a Brick Productions with his Lost Stories, and Thlemo Productions with his Scum and Video Villainy. I knew are much younger to this industry, but still putting out enjoyable brick films. So that leads us into 2023, and with the release of Across the Spider-Verse Trailer 2, a 14-year-old by the name of Lego Me, the OG, remade the trailer in Lego and ended up animating a segment on the film. And for the first time since 2019, Lego was at the box office, but this time it didn't flop. And this is the end of the story. I know this isn't entirely accurate. I wanted to make a video that I'm passionate about, and I also wanted to talk about the many time and factors that affected Lego brick films as well, because I didn't want this video to be like me control C, control Ving a bunch of videos and like saying, oh look, evolution of brick films. I wanted to more talk about stuff that affected the making of brick films, things like that. And obviously, I didn't want the video to be 5 years long, so I only used a few examples. But yeah, if you did enjoy, please hit that like button and subscribe. It would mean the absolute world to me. So yeah, anyway, see you guys.